All right, let's get back to what we were trying to do. I'll try to find two videos, one that robotic delivery I mentioned, which is already happening, and then the driverless cars, which are already running on the roads, to get an idea of what the Gen AI or machine learning can do here, right? Okay, all right. So what are we going to talk about now is we're going to look at, especially in the healthcare systems. A couple of you were asking me what my area of interest right now is. Healthcare system, using AI in healthcare system, which is what I'm currently mostly focused on. So having said that, this is not my work, what I'm showing you more like a state of art that we are having today, where the research is going, where the opportunities are, what the challenges are. Probably in the next 10-15 minutes, we're going to talk about that. And then we'll move on to, how many of you are following the Google class that's out there? All of you are, right? So there's a case study that I posted there, and there are two sets of questions. Just look into it and see it. Obviously, it's not technical in nature. It's more of the area or the topics that we are covering today and the next 2 days, which is really the social, economic, political implications, focusing on the biases and fairness in the process. So that's out there. Have a look at it. If you have questions, I mean, there's no right or wrong answers, actually. It's really an analysis which is invoking understanding or invoking more questions or curiosity, leading to some more research and things like that. So that's that. Let's just spend maybe about 20 minutes or so roughly trying to see where we are in the healthcare system and use of AI in healthcare system. As I mentioned, that's my area of interest right now. Not that this is describing my work, this is just describing the current state. Okay, so a couple of things I'll mention here. When I say healthcare system, the healthcare systems vary significantly from country to country. So what you encounter as a healthcare system in India may be different from what's it in Europe, what it is in Canada, and what it is in US. So a few things are common, or at least similar. Processes and the businesses and the system per se could run differently. None of you are doctors here or medical person, but then I'm sure you all have interacted with the healthcare systems, right? So feel free to apply what you know about it. Having said that, majority of the work in the research as it happening relates to the healthcare systems of that country. So if the Europeans are doing some research, they are focusing on the healthcare on their side, etc., etc. That does not mean that it's not transferable, i.e., if something new has happened in one country, eventually it will find its way internationally. Now, there is a possibility that these companies or these systems may not be ready for it, right? And I can give you a very simple examples, right? How quickly India adopted e-commerce, right? Pretty fast. How quickly you saw an Uber being replicated, like a Ola here, or Airbnb with Oyo here, or Amazon with Flipkart here, right? ChatGPT is here today. Couple of you want to build your own LLM. India hasn't yet built its own LLM because it's not easy, it's very expensive, right? You haven't seen, I haven't seen yet anything that is happening in healthcare system being replicated here or even copied here. The healthcare system is very, very, very old or very archaic in this country. Let's put it this way. It's distributed. There's no consistency. It's diffused. Not much of regulation. Not much of monitoring or control. So a lot needs to happen here, right? But having said that, let me just tell you that where the research is happening in AI in healthcare systems, right? It's not new. The earliest a recorded incident that I can lay my hands on is a system called Mycin, and it's interesting. It's funny actually. I mentioned to you that our batch, and this is what I was telling a couple of juniors from here, our batch was the first batch which forced this college to start teaching a subject or a course. Now, when I say a course, actually I'm using the American terminology. A subject is a course there. So it's not that you're doing a BTech or MTech as a course, that's a degree. Every subject that you take is a course. So from that perspective, the first course on AI was taught in 1987, spring semester or semester from January. The person who taught that course, she was a young lecturer at that time. Now she's retired. I was communicating with her last night itself. I basically told her that I'll take your name because you were the first one who taught this course. And so in that class as well, the textbook that we followed had this system called Mycin. So it's not new, it's been there, and it was in the textbook at that time. And actually, you got to imagine that the textbook was available here in Civil Lines in one of the stores. I mean, obviously they follow because they were told that this textbook will be used, so it was available. Okay, so late 70s, Mycin was a program which was used to track infections. It's very interesting, actually. The infections is something that's one of my earliest area of work, and I was telling a couple of you that was GIS. The GIS were also used to track the waterborne disease. It was the very first instances of where maps were used, waterborne disease I'm saying, but it was cholera in England, in London specifically, where they used the maps or spatial data, the concept of spatial data, to track down what was the source of cholera or the waterborne disease by mapping the incidents as they are reporting and getting down to, I think, 2 or 3 wells where the water was contaminated and was spreading cholera. So from there, from figuring out bloodborne infections by the AI or waterborne infection by the spatial data, the current research is trying to do a couple of things. Opportunities for AI, in the sense what the AI can do, challenges. I mean, those things are very similar to what we have seen in the first half, where we talked about the social, economic, political, and ethical issues. There we are saying is that what are the opportunities, what are the challenges, and if there are any recommendations that we can do. All right. So let me describe a general incident of someone coming in contact with healthcare system. This may be very similar to what you see here as well, so you should be able to relate with it. Generally, what happens in any kind of a health situation, you have a diagnosis, you have a network of providers, doctors, nurses, and the other areas which may be doing something or the other. There's logistics involved. The logistics could be as simple as that, transporting patient from one place to the other. It could be as simple as that, preparing for a test or some kind of other examination. Rehabilitation, if a person has gone through some kind of surgery or some kind of prosthetic installation or prosthetic enhancement, it might require some rehabilitation. When I say prosthetic enhancement, like knee replacement surgery or something of that kind, where you need to train your muscles again how to walk. Communication, in the sense that anyone who is providing you support or healthcare, communication between them, actually providing healthcare, treatment, and any of the other services. Now, these are some of the areas where any action related to healthcare is focused on. You can't read it, unfortunately it's very small, but the slides will be available for you, right? So you can have a look at it. What we are saying is that there are 3 distinct areas: diagnosis, care, and logistics, and then what the challenges are, in the sense that what you can increase in each of these areas. COVID-19 or a pandemic, how it affected or impacted what can be done, and then how AI solutions or opportunities are being utilized. So for example, for diagnosis, there are decision-making tools where the AI is being helpful, both generative AI or even before that. If you think about it, expert systems that we talked about, something that was a direction like 20, 30 years ago, expert systems are being still utilized to do all kinds of diagnosis. The diagnosis could be interpreting the radiology results to interpreting any kind of imagery. In a way, it's no more different from if you are interpreting imagery from remote sensing or you are interpreting imagery from an X-ray scan or a CT scan or any other kind of scan, right? Care. On the care side, a couple of different things are happening. How many of you have heard laparoscopic surgeries? Right? So laparoscopic surgeries are two kinds of surgeries. One are camera assisted, but still is a human who's doing a surgery, or a robotic surgeries as well. So that's one area where AI or machine learning is helping out in taking care of the patients. The robots are also doing a lot of care quality things, in the sense that not so here, but like if you are in a critical care unit, the robots are replacing a lot of routine things that a human nurse might be or human care provider might be doing. That is also a possibility that the robots are being utilized for. A lot of logistics related information. It could be in terms of making suggestions, especially in the emergency care, when someone comes in, prescribing an immediate plan of action, provided the past history is available. Robots are, the artificial intelligence and the machine learning systems are being used. So that's like a current state of art, if you want to think about it. There's another area of research that is suggesting, in the sense that helping out doctors, because the doctors have huge workload everywhere, right? So how can you use the AI or machine learning to help them? Very similar to if you have a brain scan, the brain image segmentation is being done by ML techniques, feature extraction is done by. So what is happening here is that you're not replacing the doctor, or the machine is not replacing the doctor, but helping the doctor by identifying features, by identifying the images or the significant area of the images or relevant area of the images, by doing a feature extraction and comparing it with the past knowledge, and then identifying that, is there a risk of Alzheimer? What's the progression of the Alzheimer? The intent here is that if a doctor was spending 15 minutes studying the image before the machine learning intervention, instead of 15, now it's 5 minutes. So efficiency is increased by 300% roughly, right? So that's another way the AI and machine learning is being used. If you continue to look into the other aspect of the AI, very similar. Anywhere you're using AI and machine learning, you got to look at the legal issues and ethical issues. A lot of these issues are exactly same: privacy, mitigation of bias, transparency, relevance, right? Because any time you say a model has been trained on the past data, the issue of bias comes in, fairness comes in, issue of transparency and privacy comes in, because if the patient information is shown to a model, it's an issue, right? In Western countries, the health information is very private information. So it is always a culture shock when you go there. My brother-in-law came to US and he was surprised to see, you go to a doctor here, you talk to the doctor in front of 10 other people who are waiting. And while you're waiting for your turn, you're talking and everybody's talking. Not so in US basically. You and a talk with your doctor is personal. So no doctor will see you or talk to you in front of anybody else. So it's pure personal information. If you're feeding it to a model, you are in a way giving away control, because you don't know how and where the model is going to use it, and can it be stolen, etc., etc. The legal issues are all related with governance, liability, accuracy, decision making. If a machine is making a call that your Alzheimer is progressing, what if it's wrong? Same issue that I raised about the driverless car. are the issues here as well. Having said that, there have been a lot of accidents where someone was monitored by machines. Now, those actions or that incidents or accidents may have been caused by bad algorithm, bad sensors, bad machines, all of different cases. As a matter of fact, in one of the courses that I teach on software design, an entire section is about these medical devices and issues in medical devices and how they are being governed. I follow a book. If any of you are interested in that, there's a book written on these incidents that have happened, fatal incidents, where either the algorithm made a mistake or a device made a mistake or a combination of that. You're being monitored by a machine and then machine made a mistake. Whose fault is that? Or you're being monitored by a machine that's regulating, let's say, amount of insulin sent to you, and it sent a wrong dose, which turned out to be fatal, right? So there are a lot of issues related to governance, liability, decision making, as who's responsible if the machines are failing. Is it the person who was supposed to monitor? Is the person who's supposed to administer? Is the manufacturer who made the machine? Is the person who wrote the program? We don't know yet. So a lot of issues are out there that we are trying to yet work on and figure out as to where we are going with it. Okay, now next 3 slides are basically going to talk about active area of research which are happening one way or the other. So personalized individual treatment, that's a very active area, right? Now think of it, this is something which only a rich society can afford to, right? In a country like India, I mean India it's like a middle power now. I mean people have better lifestyles, but still there are probably going to be very few people who are willing to pay for individualized medicine, but that's an area based on lifestyle, past history, environmental consideration. Call it designer drug. Designer drug has been used for multiple purposes. Not all designer drugs are individualized drugs, but that's an area of research. Genomic information. Now, the genome databases, they're still being constructed, massive databases which basically figure out how the genomes function and then how proteins fold. Can we combine the two things together and then figure out based on your genomic history, is there a medicine that can help you better than the other one? A very active area of research. Simple, basically cost calculation, 101 of finance. Large hospital systems, especially like a private systems, because majority of the hospitals in US and then the West are private systems. Here also you have a lot of large private systems, right? Apollo or some other big names, whatever, I can't think of right now, but there are big hospitals in Delhi, for example, right? How do you reduce the cost? Now the cost of providing service, the cost of basically maintaining the facility, again the AI is being used here. It could be used for scheduling, as simple as scheduling. It can be used for as simple as communicating with patient. It could be as simple as then reminding people to take medicine. Any of these things are being utilized here. Predictive analytics. One of the key financial measurement of effectiveness of hospital is what is known as readmission rate. Okay, and let me give my personal anecdotes here. 40 years ago, 45 years ago, especially in a small town where I am from, going to hospital was like a terminal action. I mean, we had a hospital which had a reputation, at least in our extended family, that if somebody goes to that hospital, the person is not coming back. Not necessarily it's the fault of hospital, it's the fault of us as well, that we were going to hospital only when someone has reached almost terminal state, right? So the healthcare was not necessarily a preventive action. Healthcare was more or less as a response to something bad that has already happened. That may have changed now, that may be changing now. This advanced societies treat healthcare as preventive action. And the preventive action starts from, let's say, taking vaccination, that's a preventive action. to regular health checkups, to the testing that can figure out something bad which is not going to worse. So things have changed from there. Healthcare is no longer just the managing the worst case scenario, which used to be the case earlier. I gave that anecdote now, but what I'm saying now, basically, in US, one of the measurement of effectiveness of a hospitalization visit is called readmission ratio. What they're saying is that what's the likelihood that a patient, after being discharged from a hospital, is going to come back in 7 days, 15 days, 3 months. So that's how they determine how effective the medical intervention was. If someone is back in the hospital within 1 week, something is not right. 15 days, not that great. 3 months, maybe okay. So that's how the effectiveness of the intervention by the medical staff is being measured here. So that's basically doing the predictive analytics, in the sense that the AI is being used to determine when somebody is being discharged based on their history, how likely is this person to come back to hospital within a week, 2 weeks, or 3 months, right? So that's where AI is being used. AI can predict interaction between different chemical compound and biological target. So in the sense that now one of the thing, there are drugs which are generic, there are drugs which are only dispensed by a pharmacist. Now the pharmacist looks at your history, other drugs that you're taking, and compute or figure out that there are any interactions which you should take or should not take. That's an area which has been very actively being handed over to AI, so that the AI can figure out that you're taking these medicines, you have this history, you shouldn't be taking this medicine, or if you're taking this medicine, you shouldn't be doing this, for example. So, and it could go as far as, for example, how many of you know grapefruit? You know grapefruit, right? So I take a medicine, but then I get a report saying that while I'm on this medicine, I'm not supposed to take grapefruit. So with the systems which are going to that extent, can actually tell you that forget about the medicine, there are other things which you can or should not take, right? There is chatbots which are now being utilized, not very, what would be the right word? Not very commonly used, because chatbots have not yet replaced the doctor. Forget about doctor, haven't even replaced the nurses, but they can offer basic advices. Now, this is an area where the ChatGPT is being actively utilized. Can we create the health bots which can be used by people who have questions? One of the startups that I'm working with actually is in this area for people, as I mentioned earlier, intellectually or developmentally disabled. For their use case, can we have a chatbot that can basically really help with? Another area of not research, but the active implementation that we have is a couple of you had the digital me or something like that. So digital companion. So what we are doing, this is not necessarily a problem in India right now. This is again a problem of more affluent society. This could be happening here or might be happening in the next 30, 40 years when you guys are out there. No longer there are joint families. The parents are not living with their kids in a way. So what is happening in America and the other affluent society is that a lot of time the parents, especially if only one of them is remaining, they're living a life in isolation basically. So one of the applications that we are working on is creating a digital companion, creating a history. One of you were talking about earlier is that can it recreate the historical figures? What we are trying to do is that preserve the memories of near and dear, because once they are gone, but we're basically working on a digital companion so that they can log their memory when they can, and then kind of keep them together so that you can revisit when you want to do that. Now again, this is not truly a healthcare thing, it's healthcare social, but that is happening as well. There's research which is going on to deal with the privacy concern. How do you want to share your information but not share your information? I'm going to talk a little bit about either tomorrow or day after a concept called differential privacy. Has anyone heard of the term differential privacy? So we'll talk about a little bit. This is not necessarily an AI or machine learning related topic. This is really more relevant to encryption and blockchain related, but because it relates to healthcare, I'll cover a little bit the differential privacy as a response to privacy issues for large language models. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Very active area of research right now. Electronic tools like telemedicine, remote patient monitoring, all of those are happening even now. I mean, they're not necessarily that active, but you think about it, the monitoring devices exist, right? There was a snowfall where I live in New Jersey, right? How do I know? I mean, obviously I know the reports, but I have cameras that I can see what happened there. I had 2 deliveries, so I could see that, okay, somebody came in, the camera is actually monitoring the movement, and then as it sees the movement, it identifies that there's an AI there, it identifies it's a human. So it wouldn't trigger or let me know if so there are 2 very common animals around us, basically the deer, which is a huge problem. There are like hundreds of deers around us. There are rabbits, there are foxes, there are all kinds of things. So the AI is in play where it won't trigger me if 3 deers ran by. Just ignore. It will identify if there is a human walking, then it will indicate that someone's there. It'll take the picture, it'll show the video, what the person did, etc. So all of that is happening. So the remote patient monitoring is happening. There are patient monitoring of both sides. So what I described the use case was it was monitoring the movement, right? For the patient, let's say somebody's parent is living outside. They're not monitoring the movement. They're monitoring lack of movement, because they want to discover that something bad has happened and the old person is not moving around. So there are sensors which are actually monitoring lack of movement. So a lack of movement for, let's say, during the daytime for 3 hours will trigger. It will send the emergency services, the ambulance to the place saying that there has been no activity in 3 hours, in the last 3 hours. So there are both kinds of sensors, those which monitor movement and those monitor lack of movement. Then a couple of other areas in the sense that decision making, trying to estimate the amount of error and the impact of amount of error. Technical and regulatory hurdle for data sharing, differential privacy actually, or the solution for differential privacy work in that area as well. That's an active area of research. Performance also is an important one. Not that active right now, primarily because majority of the things that I'm talking about are in the research stage. They're not necessarily all put in practice, but model performance is going to be an important part of it. Confidence, I think the transparency of the explainable AI that I mentioned earlier. So very common active area of research. As a matter of fact, actually, I came across a paper just last night. It was published in November. I got a copy. Actually, I'll upload it into Google Classroom if any of you are interested in AI in healthcare. So it's just talking about AI in medicine and AI in healthcare. All right. Any questions? Yes, no, maybe?
Can the AI replace doctor to neck replacement?
Replace the doctor to do what?
Neck replacement of human body.
Net replacement?
Neck.
Oh, neck.
Yes.
Why specifically neck?
Because it's much complicated.
I mean, everything is complicated, right? So there are a couple of things actually. I mean, if you think about it, right? I'm not sure how to answer your question, but let me give you some examples based on some of the subjects that I teach, right? One of the subjects that I teach is really about teaching undergraduates, third year or fourth year students, how to do research and make a presentation, right? So one of the topic which is there, I mean, I would say two topics which are very common. One is the game design, because video game design in a way, because that's an active area of research and a lot of new technologies coming out from there. And the second one is virtual reality that we haven't talked about. Now, if you think about it, virtual reality is combination of mechanical information plus also the AI, because in virtual reality you are using sensors and you are processing a lot of data and you're doing some of the things that I talked about, which is search in some space, right? So one of the topic that is very common is use of virtual reality in rehabilitation. So one of the area I mentioned is rehabilitation here. So as part of rehabilitation is the hand-eye coordination, reconstructing hand surgery. It's not been used for knee yet, but hand, yes, and neck, yes. So if something has gone on neck, it requires a lot of rehabilitation surgery. So virtual reality is being used there in the sense that rather than somebody telling you to do it this way, you are put into a virtual environment and you follow the instructions in a gamify format. And then really speaking, you're playing a game. You means the patient is playing a game, but in a way, we are exercising the muscles for rehabilitation. So that is being done. Are we replacing doctor? We're not replacing doctor even for a simple thing yet. There, if you were there when I was talking about all of it, that there are other research like imaging, helping in the imaging, feature segmentation, trying to give suggestions about these kind of things. Those are happening. I don't think we're there yet. Forget about the doctor, even 100% replacing nurse. No, not yet. Which is a good thing, I think. Right? Did that answer your question? Okay.
Sir, in previous slides you told that AI is in medical healthcare and we can use it as a consultant. Like if we have some symptoms, we can ask that. But whether it is going to create a havoc, like we say that if we search symptoms on Google and it is going to say that you have cancer.
Yes, I mean, that are the questions we are talking about, the legal questions in terms of the ethical questions. What if it gave you wrong information? Who's responsible for that? And we're going to talk about some of these issues tomorrow. Is it the person who gave the data? Is it the person who was supposed to monitor? Is it the programmer who made the mistake? Like who? So some of these are open questions. Any other question? Okay, if not, then we're going to talk about AI ethics tomorrow. Fairness, biases, things like that. I'll probably upload that paper, the healthcare one. A couple of you who wanted to know about the GIS thing, I'll see. If not tomorrow, the day after, we'll talk about it. I'll try to find the two videos, which should be there somewhere, either on my phone or on my laptop here. One, I'll try to show you the robots that are replacing people in hospitality industry, and a driverless car, basically, which is a video sitting inside the driverless car and it's driving. So, all right. Any questions at this time? Otherwise, we're going to stop, or at least I'm going to stop here. Then we'll see if Professor Sau has something else planned for you. Any questions? Yes, no, maybe? Okay, the singularity, as I introduced earlier, right? Singularity is a concept where a person says, Ray Kurzweil is his name, when the machine takes over, or when the machine become, if not more than as intelligent as a human being. This person thinks that singularity is going to happen. Not everybody thinks the same way, but then again, 10 years ago, we did not think where we will be today, that we are today. So it could happen. It might be happening soon. We don't know. What consequences? I mean, listen, there could be any consequences if you think about it. It all depends on what are we doing to stop having those situations. If everything is connected, if a sentient AI can have access to Pentagon's systems. It can create a nuclear war. It can stop the planes from flying. It can do whatever it wants. It can stop the trains from running. I mean, they're all connected, at least in our part of the world. So if somebody has access to bad things, things can happen. They are all doable. They're all doable. They are being done today. One of the class that I teach, and again on the software architecture side, where security is a concern, how many of you have heard of this thing? Anybody who has done the cyber security or any of those kind of thing? Stuxnet was a worm. You know worm. 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 Sorry? No, it's a kind of virus. I mean, virus and worms are the same thing. Stuxnet was a virus that was used by CIA to infiltrate into Iranian nuclear installation. It sat there for a long time, and it basically disabled their entire system. So all of these things are happening. They're happening in war. They're happening in very controlled environment. So if that can happen from remote, anything is possible. Anything is possible. And that's where all the issues that we're going to talk about tomorrow, ethics, the biases, the fairness, the shareability of the data, the responsibility, the regulation, they all come into play. Right? Okay. Any other question? Yes, no, maybe? All right, so we stop here and then we'll talk about the ethics tomorrow, and then I'll just, as I mentioned, try to answer the GIS research thing, and then a couple of videos if I can find them. The slides for today, I'll upload them in. Okay, great, thank you.